Welcome to Emma Tales Lovers, where disrespect gets exposed and humiliation doesn't get the last word. These are the stories of wives and girlfriends who try to shame their husbands and boyfriends in public, weaponize family and friends, and treat love like a power game, until the calm comeback rewrites everything. If you've ever been embarrassed, talked down to, or made to feel less than by the person who should protect you, this channel is for you. Subscribe and turn on notifications for raw, realistic humiliation stories with quiet receipts, cold consequences, and hard lessons, because respect isn't optional. Let's get into it. Mary left me a voicemail while I was in the break room at work, chewing on a dry chicken sandwich. "I'm not happy," she said, like she was reading a weather report. "I'm staying with my sister. Don't call me." Then she added the cruelest part, quiet, casual, like it didn't matter. "Also, I already told your boss. He knows. Everybody knows. No tears. No apology. Just a click." I stood there with mayo on my thumb, feeling stupid in a way that had nothing to do with the sandwich. Here's how it happened. I'm Paul, a black man from Georgia who's made enough mistakes to recognize a new one coming from a mile away. I'm not writing this as a hero. Years ago, I cheated on Mary. I confessed because guilt ate me alive, not because I'm noble. I did therapy. I cut off the nonsense. I rebuilt what I broke, brick by brick. I learned how to apologize without expecting a reward. I learned how to listen without defending myself. I thought we had survived the worst of me. We met in Atlanta at a cookout where the music was too loud and the aunties were competing for who could insult you the most while feeding you the best plate. Mary laughed at my jokes even when they weren't funny, which should have been my first warning. I asked for her number and she said, "You can have my Instagram. Own the rest." She had this way of looking at you like she already knew what you were thinking and was deciding if you deserved a chance. When she finally let me take her out, she wore sneakers to a nice place just to see if I'd act embarrassed. I wasn't embarrassed. I liked her confidence. The first time we held hands walking through Piedmont Park, it felt like I'd grown into my own skin. I'd been the type of man who tried to win rooms, impress strangers, keep options open. With Mary, I wanted peace. That's what I told myself anyway. We had little romantic rituals, late-night drives to nowhere, stopping for gas station slushes, sharing one pair of earbuds like we were broke teenagers. She'd lean her head on my shoulder and hum along to old R&B like she was blessing the air. After we married, our house felt like a place you could breathe. Saturday mornings were loud. Mary singing off-key while frying bacon, me dancing horribly behind her just to make her laugh. She'd swat me with the dish towel and say, "Boy, get out my kitchen," and I'd say, "Our kitchen," like I was claiming territory. When our kid came along, the house got even louder, the good kind of loud. The kind that makes you forgive yourself for your past because you think, maybe, you finally did something right. My past came back because past always does. I cheated early in our marriage during a time when I was selfish and insecure and stupid with opportunity. I could dress it up, but it would still be ugly. Mary found out and didn't scream. That silence was worse. She said, "I don't know who you are." That sentence lived in my chest for years. I begged, yes. I also did the work. Therapy, transparency, no password games, no work-wife jokes. I stopped performing good and started practicing it, because Mary deserved that. For a while, it worked. We weren't perfect. Arguments about money, who forgot daycare forms, how I left socks on the living room floor like they paid rent. But we had laughter again. Real laughter. One night in Savannah for our anniversary, Mary surprised me with a corny little hotel room setup, candles, a playlist, chocolate she definitely stole from the front desk snack area. I laughed so hard I snorted, and she said, "Don't judge my romance, Paul. Receive it." I did. I thought we were safe. Then the air changed. Mary started getting dressed like she was going somewhere that required an audience. New perfume, new lashes, new patience for everybody except me. She'd come home late and act offended that I noticed. If I asked, she'd give me the same line every time. "Don't start." Her phone stayed face down like it was hiding a secret under its chin. Sometimes she'd smile at a text and then swallow the smile when I walked in, like it belonged to someone else. I told myself I was paranoid because of my history. At work, things were getting weird too. I work in a corporate office in Atlanta. Glass walls, tight smiles, meetings about meetings. My boss, Carlton, wasn't cruel in an obvious way. He was the kind of man who liked power the way some people like sugar. He couldn't stop himself. He'd compliment you loudly and undermine you quietly. He'd call you my guy in public and treat you like furniture in private. Still, I kept my head down. I had a family. I needed stability. That's how people like Carlton win. The first red flag wasn't Mary. It was my coworkers. Folks I'd trained, helped, covered for when they messed up, suddenly acting awkward around me. Too nice, too careful, like they were stepping around something sharp on the floor. I'd walk into the break room and conversations would pause, then restart too loud. My friend Devin wouldn't look me in the eye. One day I heard someone whisper, "He doesn't know." It hit me like cold water, but I forced myself to laugh it off because in offices, truth is always wearing a disguise. Mary's sister lives in Houston, and Mary started talking about Houston like it was heaven. "My sister's got her life together," she'd say, scrolling through photos. "She's always traveling, always doing something." I'd make jokes. "So you want me to start wearing cowboy boots and calling everybody partner?" And Mary would smirk like I was entertaining but not invited. We used to plan trips together. Now she'd plan and inform. "I might go down there for a week," she said one night, not asking. Our kid looked up like, "Wait, you're leaving?" I tried to pull Mary close. Not with speeches, just with the small stuff. Flowers from the grocery store. Cooking dinner. Taking the kid to the park so she could rest. One night I put on our old playlist and asked her to dance in the living room like we used to. She stared at me like I was auditioning for a part one no longer had. Then she said, "Paul, I'm tired." She didn't mean physically. She meant of me. The next morning, the playlist was gone from our shared account. That petty detail hurt more than it should have. The funny thing is, right before everything cracked, we had this sweet moment that felt like a gift. Our kid had a school family night, and Mary showed up in a sweater I loved, hair wrapped, no makeup, just, her. She reached for my hand in the hallway without thinking. For 2 seconds, it was like the old us. She squeezed my fingers and whispered, "Don't do that corny dad dance." I whispered back, "I can't promise that." She laughed, real laugh, and my heart did that stupid hopeful thing. I didn't know hope was about to embarrass me. 2 days later, Mary went to help her sister. I watched her pack like she was escaping. She didn't kiss me goodbye. She kissed our kid's forehead and said, "Be good for your daddy." Like she was leaving a babysitter. After she drove off, I cleaned the kitchen just to keep my hands busy. That night I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "You okay?" No response. I tried again. "Please let me know you got there safe." Still nothing. I went to bed feeling like I'd been pushed out of my own marriage without a conversation. In the office, Carlton scheduled a quick touch-base team meeting. He loved those. He'd pick a time that ruined lunch and then act like he was doing you a favor. That morning, he walked past my desk and said, with fake concern, "Everything okay at home? Paul, you seem distracted." The way he said home felt like he was pressing a bruise. My stomach turned. Devin finally pulled me aside by the copy machine and whispered, "Bro, you really don't know?" I stared at him until he flinched. Then he said, "I can't be the one. I'm sorry." That night, I checked our bank account. Not because I was trying to control Mary, but because the silence had made me suspicious. Money had moved, small transfers at first, then bigger ones. Hotel charges. A restaurant in Charlotte I'd never been to. A conference fee that made no sense. I stayed at the screen until my eyes burned. I wanted to throw the phone. I wanted to call Mary and scream. But I didn't. Something in me, maybe therapy, maybe exhaustion, said, "Get facts first. Feelings can wait. Facts don't disappear when you blink." I pulled phone records. I didn't feel proud doing it. I felt sick. Pages of calls to one number. Long calls. Late calls. I saved screenshots with shaking hands. I looked up the number and found a name tied to my company. Not a random. Not a stranger. Someone in my orbit. My chest tightened like it was being cinched. I sat in my car in the driveway and stared at our house, our porch light, our kids' toys on the lawn. And I thought, I rebuilt this once. I can't rebuild it again by myself. Nobody should have to. Mary finally texted me back. One line. Stop blowing up my phone. I'm fine. I replied, are you with someone? She took 2 hours, then said, don't be dramatic. That's when I knew she wasn't going to give me truth. She was going to give me contempt. I drove to a lawyer's office in Decatur the next day on my lunch break. Sitting in that waiting room felt like admitting defeat. The lawyer didn't ask me how I felt. She asked me what I could prove. It was the first calm voice I'd heard in weeks. I call my cousin in Birmingham. He's the type who laughs at your problems until he realizes they're serious. Then he turns into a soldier. When I told him, he went quiet. Then he said, "Alright, we move smart." He didn't tell me to fight somebody. He didn't tell me to post screenshots. He told me to protect myself and my kid. That night, I opened a new account, rerouted my direct deposit, froze our joint credit, and documented everything. It wasn't revenge. It was survival. And survival, when you've been betrayed, starts to look like cold discipline. Meanwhile, I was suffering in ways people don't see. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and stare at the ceiling while the house hummed around me like it didn't care. I'd make breakfast for our kid with a smile that hurt my face. I'd go to work and answer emails like my life wasn't on fire. Mary's family started treating me like I was an inconvenience. Her sister blocked me. Her mother stopped returning my calls. Even people at church got weird, those pity looks that feel like accusations. Mary never once asked how our kid was sleeping. She only asked about money. Carlton got bolder. He'd assign me projects with impossible timelines, then hover like he was waiting for me to fail. He'd make little jokes in meetings. Paul, don't disappear on us like some people do. And everyone would laugh too loud. I realized something sharp. This wasn't just my marriage collapsing. This was my workplace watching, testing how much disrespect I'd swallow. As a black man in that environment, anger is a trap. You raise your voice and suddenly you're unprofessional. You get quiet and suddenly you're not a team player. Carlton was counting on me to break the wrong way. Then, by accident, I got the cleanest piece of evidence. Carlton's assistant emailed me an attachment meant for someone else, an itinerary for an Orlando conference. Under guest was Mary's name. Not a typo, not a coincidence. My hands went cold. I didn't forward it around. I didn't confront Carlton. I saved it. I printed it. I compared it to travel policy. I requested the policy in writing like a good little employee. HR emailed it to me, cheerful and clueless. I highlighted the parts about guest travel and conflicts of interest. I built a file the way patient people do. The romantic part of this story isn't about Mary. Not really. It's about the version of me that still believed love meant enduring anything. I'd look at old photos, Savannah, our living room dance, Mary laughing with frosting on her lip at our kid's birthday, and I'd feel my heart reach for her like a reflex. Sometimes I'd start typing a message, "I miss you." Then I'd remember her voicemail. Everybody knows. And I'd delete it. The romance didn't die fast. It died slow, like a candle running out of oxygen. I grieved quietly, which is its own kind of violence. The funny scenes happened because life is rude like that. One day at work, with my world collapsing, I walked into a meeting with toilet paper stuck to my shoe. Nobody told me. Not one person. I sat there talking about quarterly metrics like a fool, and the whole time I felt something weird dragging under my heel. When I finally noticed, Devin looked like he wanted to disappear. I laughed, this dry, cracked laugh, and said, "So you will let me walk around with TP on my foot but won't tell me my life is a joke?" Devin's face fell. He whispered, "I'm sorry, bro." I said, "Me too." The next meeting Carlton scheduled was in Atlanta, the type with leadership reviewing compliance and travel spending. Glass room, big screen. People dialed in from Dallas and Baltimore. Carlton sat at the head like a man who thought consequences were for other people. He started talking about trust and culture like he wasn't poison. I listened with my hands folded, heart steady in a way that surprised me. When he pulled up travel totals, I raised my hand calmly and asked, "Quick compliance question. Are we required to disclose conflicts if a non-employee guest attends a conference on company reimbursement? Carlton smiled like I was slow. Not relevant, he said. I nodded like I accepted that. Then I said, still calm. Then can you clarify why my wife, Mary, is listed as a guest on the Orlando itinerary under our department code? And why her hotel incidentals are in the reimbursement packet? The room went silent like somebody cut the air conditioning. Carlton's smile froze. He didn't apologize. He didn't look embarrassed. He looked irritated, like I'd spilled coffee on his expensive suit. He tried to pivot. That must be an administrative mistake. I slid the policy across the table, highlighted, then the itinerary, then the receipt summary. I just want clarification in writing, I said. That's the part that made it unforgettable. I didn't yell. I didn't call him names. I didn't mention the affair out loud. I made it about policy and money because policy and money are the only languages companies truly respect. The managers on the call started asking questions. Authorization chain, approval process, who submitted what? Carlton kept talking, but his voice got thinner. Devon stayed at the table like it might open and swallow him. I stayed calm because calm is a weapon when someone is counting on your anger. I watched Carlton realize, in real time, he couldn't charm his way out of paper. 2 weeks later, internal audit pulled the thread. This wasn't TV, no dramatic handcuffs in the lobby. It was quieter and worse. Carlton got placed on administrative leave pending investigation. His company card got suspended. His access got restricted. Then one day his office was empty. No goodbye email. No we wish him well. Just erased. Mary didn't call to apologize. She didn't soften. She doubled down. She stayed with her sister in Houston and acted like I was petty for messing with her happiness. She tried to push a quick divorce that would have drained me. She told mutual friends I was controlling. Not 1 ounce of remorse. Not once. Karma hit Mary in a realistic way. No movie explosions. Just consequences. Without Carlton's position, the special attention dried up. The access disappeared. The little benefit she'd been enjoying quietly, trips, hotels, soft comfort, collapsed. She still didn't apologize, but her tone changed when she realized my money wasn't automatically hers anymore. Because I'd moved smart, she couldn't empty me on her way out. I fought for a custody schedule that protected our kids' stability. I transferred teams under a different director. I rebuilt savings. I started working out again, not to show off, but because grief sits in your body and I was tired of feeling weak. I didn't make a public speech. I didn't post receipts. I didn't chase revenge like it could replace love. My success stayed private, quiet paychecks in the right account, a peaceful home, a kid who slept through the night again, a calendar that didn't revolve around someone else's chaos. My moral lesson is simple and hard. Love without respect becomes a slow death, and respect starts with what you're willing to enforce. Also, if you've done wrong before, you still deserve fairness, but you don't get to demand mercy from people who refuse accountability. I learned to stop begging for remorse and start building a life that didn't need it. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.